I sat cross-legged on the hardwood floor of my parents' Boston living room, the artificial pine scent of Christmas morning filling my nostrils. My sister Madison held up a set of car keys, the Tesla emblem catching the morning light like a promise. She screamed. Not a normal scream, but the kind that makes crystal vibrate in cabinets. My mother clutched her chest like she was watching a miracle unfold. My father stood by the window, grinning wider than I'd seen in years. Outside, parked in the circular driveway with a massive red bow on the hood, sat a brand-new Tesla Model 3. Gleaming. I looked down at my lap. 3 pairs of socks. The kind you buy in a 6-pack at Target. The price tag still attached read $12.99. Madison bounced toward the window, squealing into her phone already, probably posting to Instagram before she'd even sat in the driver's seat. My mother turned to me, smiling that practiced smile I'd seen my entire life. "You've always been so practical, Jordan. We knew you'd appreciate something useful." Something useful. I nodded, my throat tight, fingers tracing the synthetic fabric of the socks. Madison was 24, 2 years younger than me, unemployed, living at home rent-free. I was 26, working 60-hour weeks as a CPA, paying my own rent in a cramped studio in Cambridge. I'd driven 4 hours through a snowstorm to be here. My 2011 Honda Civic sat in the street, half buried in slush, battery barely holding a charge. "Open the card," my father said, nodding toward the small envelope tucked beside the socks. I peeled it open. Inside, a generic Hallmark card with a snowy scene. The message read, "To our responsible daughter. Love, Mom and Dad." No gift card. No check. Just words. Madison's card, still on the coffee table, had been thick. I'd watched her open it earlier, a check for $5,000, for expenses. "Well?" my mother pressed. "What do you think?" I forced a smile, the same smile I'd perfected over decades. "They're great, thank you." Madison draped herself across the couch, scrolling through comments on her phone. "You can borrow the Tesla anytime you want, Jordy. I know your car is basically ancient." Her voice dripped with false generosity, the kind designed to sound kind in front of witnesses. I stood, socks in hand, and excused myself to the bathroom. I locked the door, sat on the edge of the tub, and stared at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes looked hollow. Tired. I'd spent $300 on their gifts this year: a cashmere scarf for Mom, a leather wallet for Dad, a vintage record player for Madison. I'd wrapped them carefully, written thoughtful cards. They'd open them with polite smiles and vague thank yous before moving on. I pressed my palms against my knees, waiting for tears that wouldn't come. The hurt felt too old, too familiar to cry over. This was the pattern. Madison got the spotlight, I got the leftovers. I took a breath and unlocked the door. The house hummed with laughter downstairs, Madison showing off her car to relatives on FaceTime, my parents narrating every feature like proud sponsors. I grabbed my coat from the hall closet. "Leaving already?" my mother called from the kitchen. "We haven't even had breakfast." "I have an early meeting tomorrow," I lied. She didn't press. She never did. I hugged them each briefly, mechanically, and walked out into the cold. The Civic started on the 3rd try. As I pulled away, I saw Madison in the rearview mirror, posed beside the Tesla, phone raised, capturing her perfect Christmas. I drove back to Cambridge in silence, the socks still sitting on the passenger seat like evidence. The apartment felt colder than usual when I unlocked the door. I set the socks on the kitchen counter and stared at them for a long time. Then I opened my laptop. I didn't plan to search for anything specific, just needed distraction. I started sorting through old emails, looking for tax documents I needed for a client. That's when I saw it. An email thread from 8 years ago, forwarded accidentally to me instead of Madison. Subject line, Trust Fund Distribution Confidential. My heart stopped. I opened it. The email was from Ashford and Amp Klein, a wealth management firm in downtown Boston. It detailed the distribution schedule for a trust fund established by my late grandmother, Eleanor Hartley. Madison's name appeared throughout. Mine didn't. I scrolled further. Attached was a PDF 32 pages of legal documents. I opened it, hands shaking. Trust fund summary, grantor Eleanor May Hartley, deceased, beneficiary, Madison Grace Hartley, total value, $850,000 distribution schedule, full access at age 25. I read it 3 times. Then I searched my inbox for any mention of my name in connection with the trust. Nothing. I opened another email, this one from my father to the wealth manager. As discussed, we prefer Jordan not be informed of the trust arrangement. She's always been self-sufficient and wouldn't understand the necessity of supporting Madison's creative pursuits. Please keep all correspondence confidential. The words blurred. Self-sufficient. Their code for you don't deserve help. I sat back, the glow of the screen illuminating my face in the dark apartment. My grandmother had died when I was 18. I remembered the funeral, her smile, her stories, the way she used to call me her little architect because I loved building things. She'd always treated Madison and me equally. Or so I thought. I pulled up her will online, filed in public records. It took an hour, but I found it. In her original will, dated 2 years before her death, the trust was divided equally. $850,000 to me. $850,000 to Madison. But an amendment, filed 6 months before she passed, changed everything. The entire amount redirected to Madison. My name removed entirely. The amendment was signed by my grandmother, but the handwriting looked shaky, uncertain. Witnesses, my mother and father. I leaned back, the room spinning slightly. My grandmother had been sick those final months, dementia, confusion, barely able to recognize us by the end. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark. Outside, snow began to fall. Inside, something shifted. A lifetime of being overlooked, dismissed, told I was too capable to need anything, crystallized into a single, undeniable truth. They hadn't just favored Madison. They'd stolen from me. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I had a plan. The first call I made was to Ashford and Amp Klein. A receptionist answered, professional and distant. I need to speak with someone regarding the Eleanor Hartley Trust, I said, my voice steady. Are you a listed beneficiary? I believe I should be. Silence. Keyboard clicks. May I have your name? Jordan Hartley. More clicks. A pause. I'm going to transfer you to Mr. Ashford. The hold music was Mozart, too cheerful for the moment. Then a man's voice, deep and cautious. Ms. Hartley, I'm Richard Ashford. How can I assist you? I recently discovered documentation regarding my grandmother's trust. I'd like to understand why my name was removed from the beneficiary list. Another pause, longer this time. That's a sensitive matter. I'm not at liberty to discuss. I have copies of the original will and the amendment, I interrupted. I also have emails from my father instructing you to keep the arrangement confidential from me. If there's any question about the legitimacy of that amendment, I'm prepared to pursue it legally. The silence stretched. I see, he said finally. Perhaps we should schedule a meeting. We met 2 days later in his office, a glass tower overlooking the harbor. Mr. Ashford was in his 60s, silver-haired, wearing a suit that cost more than my monthly rent. He slid a folder across the desk. I want to be transparent with you, Ms. Hartley. When the amendment was filed, we did have concerns. Your grandmother's cognitive state was documented as declining. However, your parents provided medical documentation supporting her competency at the time of signing. Documentation they could have influenced, I said. He didn't disagree. What are my options? He leaned back. You could contest the amendment. It would require proving undue influence or lack of capacity. It's not an easy case, and it would be expensive. How expensive? Upwards of $50,000 in legal fees, possibly more. I didn't have $50,000. I barely had $5,000 in savings. But, he continued. There may be another angle. If you can demonstrate a pattern of financial abuse or manipulation by your parents, it could strengthen your case. The court tends to look unfavorably on family members who exploit vulnerable elders. I thought of the emails, the Christmas disparity, the years of being told I didn't need help. I can demonstrate that. He nodded slowly. Then I'd recommend consulting with an attorney who specializes in trust litigation. I can provide a referral. I took the business card he offered. As I stood to leave, he added, For what it's worth, Ms. Hartley, I never felt comfortable with how this was handled. Your grandmother spoke highly of you. I met his eyes. Then why didn't you question it? He looked away. I left without another word. The attorney, Diane Mercer, had an office in a converted brownstone in Back Bay. She was younger than I expected, sharp-eyed, with a no-nonsense demeanor. I laid out everything: the emails, the will amendment, the Christmas socks, the years of favoritism. She listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, she set down her pen. This is a strong case for undue influence. The timing, the medical records, the pattern of behavior, it all supports your claim. What are my chances? 60-40 in your favor, maybe better if we find more evidence. And the cost? She named a figure that made my stomach drop. I must have looked pale because she added, I can work on contingency. If we win, I take a percentage of the settlement. If we lose, you pay nothing. What percentage? I did the math. Even with her cut, I'd still walk away with over $500,000. Let's do it. She smiled, the kind of smile that said she enjoyed this. Good. First step, we send a formal demand letter to your parents. We outline the case, request mediation, and see how they respond. Most families settle before trial. And if they don't, then we go to court and expose everything. I signed the retainer agreement. As I left her office, my phone buzzed. A text from Madison. Mom said you're being weird. Are you okay? I didn't respond. The demand letter arrived at my parents' house on a Tuesday afternoon. I know because my father called 30 seconds after the courier left. What the hell is this? He shouted, his voice cracking through the speaker. I was at work, seated at my desk, surrounded by tax forms and spreadsheets. I closed my office door. It's exactly what it says, Dad. I'm contesting Grandma's trust amendment. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Jordan, your grandmother wanted Madison to have that money. She knew Madison needed support. Grandma's will originally split the money equally. You changed it while she was dying. Silence. That's not we had her blessing. Did you, or did you manipulate a sick woman because Madison couldn't support herself? His breath hitched. You've always been jealous of your sister. The accusation hung in the air, so familiar it almost felt comfortable. I'm not jealous, Dad. I'm done being invisible. If you pursue this, you'll tear this family apart. You already did that. I ended the call. My hands were shaking, but my chest felt lighter. That evening, my mother left a voicemail. Her voice was softer, more calculated. Sweetheart, I don't know what's gotten into you, but this is hurtful. We've always supported you. Maybe not in the same way as Madison, but that's because you never needed it. You're strong, independent. We're so proud of you. Proud. The word tasted bitter. I deleted the message. Madison's text came next. Why are you doing this? You're ruining everything. I typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on one. I'm correcting what should have been fair from the start. She didn't reply. Over the next 2 weeks, Diane worked quickly. She subpoenaed medical records, interviewed Grandma's former caregivers, and pulled financial statements showing how my parents had used the trust to fund Madison's lifestyle luxury apartments, trips to Europe, and a business venture that never launched. We found emails between my mother and the doctor who'd signed Grandma's competency evaluation. In one, my mother offered to make a donation to his practice. Diane called it a smoking gun. By mid-February, my parents' attorney reached out. They wanted to settle. We met in a conference room downtown, gray and fluorescent lit. My parents sat across from me, their lawyer between them like a mediator. Madison wasn't there. My father looked older, smaller somehow. My mother's face was carefully composed, but her hands twisted a tissue in her lap. Their attorney, a man named Gerald, spoke first. My clients are willing to offer a settlement. They propose dividing the trust equally $425,000 to Madison, $425,000 to Jordan. I glanced at Diane. She shook her head slightly. That's not sufficient, Diane said. The original trust allocated $850,000 to Jordan and $850,000 to Madison. Your clients redirected Jordan's entire share to Madison through coercion. We're seeking full restoration of Jordan's $850,000, plus legal fees and damages for emotional distress. Gerald frowned. That's $900,000, possibly more. It's unreasonable. What's unreasonable, Diane replied coolly, is exploiting an elderly woman with dementia and lying to one daughter for 8 years. My mother's voice cracked. Jordan, please, we made a mistake. We were trying to protect Madison. By stealing from me? I said quietly. We didn't steal, my father insisted. We reallocated, without my knowledge, without my consent. Gerald cleared his throat. Mrs. Mercer, let's be realistic. A trial will be costly and public. Neither party benefits from that. Diane leaned forward. My client isn't afraid of public scrutiny. Are yours? The room fell silent. My mother looked at me, tears streaming now. Jordan, I'm sorry. I know we've hurt you, but dragging this through court, do you really want to destroy your family? I held her gaze. You destroyed it the day you decided Madison mattered more. She flinched. My father's jaw tightened. Fine, we'll pay the full amount, but after this, don't expect us to be part of your life. The settlement was finalized in March. $850,000 transferred to my account. Legal fees covered. A formal apology letter drafted by their attorney, sterile, emotionless, required by the agreement but empty of meaning. I didn't respond to it. The money arrived on a Thursday morning. I stared at the balance on my phone screen for a long time. $850,000. It felt surreal. Not because of the amount, but because of what it represented. Proof that I'd been right. Proof that I mattered. I paid off my student loans, first $43,000 gone in a single transfer. Then I bought a new car, nothing flashy, just reliable. A certified pre-owned Subaru with heated seats and working speakers. I found a new apartment too, one with tall windows and space to breathe. But the most important thing I did was open a savings account. Reserved for the future I was finally free to build. I didn't hear from Madison for weeks. Then, one evening in April, she showed up at my door. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. She stood in the hallway, hands in her jacket pockets, eyes red-rimmed. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked to the window, staring out at the city lights. I didn't know, she said finally. About the trust, about any of it. Mom and Dad told you now? She nodded. After the settlement, they're furious with me. I didn't respond. They said it's my fault, that I should have refused the money, insisted it be split. Should you have? She turned to face me, her expression raw. I don't know, I was 24, they handed me a check and said it was from Grandma. I didn't question it. You never wondered why I didn't get anything? She looked away. I assumed, I don't know what I assumed, that you didn't need it maybe, that's what they always said. That I didn't need it, I repeated. Do you know how many shifts I worked to pay for college? How many nights I stayed up trying to balance school and rent? I didn't think you didn't have to think, that was the point. Silence. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know that doesn't fix anything. No, it doesn't. She wiped her eyes. Are we? I considered the question. For years, I'd wanted her approval, her acknowledgement, some sign that she saw me as an equal. But standing there, looking at her, I realized I didn't need it anymore. I don't know, Madison, maybe someday, but not today. She nodded, lips pressed together. For what it's worth, she added, the Tesla got repossessed last month, I couldn't make the payments. I didn't feel satisfaction at that. Just emptiness. She left quietly, and I locked the door behind her. By summer, the silence from my parents felt permanent. No calls. No texts. No attempts at reconciliation. At first, it stung. Then it stopped stinging. I started therapy in June, working through decades of feeling less than, invisible, expendable. Dr. Patel, my therapist, helped me understand that their neglect wasn't about my worth. It was about their inability to see beyond their own priorities. You didn't fail them, she said during one session. They failed you. The words settled into my chest like stones finally put down. I began building a life that was mine. I joined a book club. Made new friends who didn't know my family history. Started running early mornings along the Charles River, the water calm and reflective. I got promoted at work, my boss citing my exceptional reliability and insight. For once, being capable felt like a compliment, not an excuse. In October, I received a wedding invitation. My cousin Sarah, someone I'd always liked, was getting married. The envelope was addressed only to me, and guest, no mention of my parents. I called her. I wasn't sure if you'd come, Sarah admitted. Your mom told everyone you're not speaking to the family. That's accurate. I don't blame you. I heard about the trust fund. That was messed up. I appreciated her bluntness. I'll come, I said. But I won't sit with them. Already handled. You're at the friends' table. The wedding was small, held at a vineyard in the Berkshires. I wore a navy dress, simple and elegant, and drove alone. My parents were there, seated near the front with Madison. I avoided eye contact. During the reception, I danced with Sarah's friends, people who asked about my life without pity or judgment. It felt normal. Easy. At one point, Madison approached me near the bar. Jordan. I turned. She looked different, thinner, tired. I've been working, she said. Barista job, it's not much, but it's something. Good for you. Mom and Dad cut me off, said I need to learn responsibility. I sipped my wine, unsure what to say. They're miserable, she continued. They don't admit it, but I can tell. I'm sorry. She shook her head. Don't be, you were right, about all of it. She walked away before I could respond. I watched her go, feeling something I hadn't expected. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe the beginning of understanding. By December, a year after the socks, I'd built something I never thought possible. I spent Christmas alone in my apartment, snow falling outside, a mug of tea warming my hands. No guilt. No pressure. Just quiet. I thought about my grandmother, wondered if she'd known what my parents would do. I liked to think she hadn't. That she'd loved us both, equally, the way she always claimed. The doorbell rang, unexpected. I opened it to find a package. No return address. Just my name in neat handwriting. Inside was a small wooden box. I recognized it immediately, my grandmother's jewelry box, the one she used to keep on her dresser. Inside, a note. Jordan, I found this in the attic, thought you should have it. Madison. Beneath the note, a bracelet I remembered Grandma wearing. Silver, delicate, engraved with her initials. I slipped it on, the metal cool against my wrist. It fit perfectly. I sat on the couch, staring at the bracelet, the snow outside thickening into white drifts. For the first time in a long time, I felt something close to whole. Not because of the money. Not because of the settlement. But because I'd finally stopped waiting for my family to see me. I saw myself. And that was enough. The silence in my apartment wasn't empty anymore. It was full. Full of possibility. Full of choice. full of a future that belonged only to me. I raised my tea mug toward the window, toward the city lights blurred by snow. "Merry Christmas, Grandma," I whispered. And for the first time in years, I meant it.